In the drivers, we have two different models. We have the 565, which is slightly more draw biased and is slightly higher launching. And we also have the 765, which is slightly fade biased and is slightly lower launching, less spinning than the 565 model. What we've done is tried to make our crown as light as possible to redistribute the weight from the crown to the lower part of the driver to enable the driver to launch higher with less spin. So my first question for Dan is, what are you looking for from a new fairway wood or driver? What are you struggling with your fairway wood or driver? Now, what Dan did say, Dan obviously strikes the ball very well. He's off 6, so distance isn't a massive thing, but we were struggling. The main thing I picked up from my conversation with Dan was consistency. So what we did is we got him to hit 5 to 6 shots with his own fairway wood so I can get some numbers and I can see what's going on. And straight away we could see what the issue Dan was struggling with, especially with his fairway wood more than the driver, is that it was launching at 8.5 degrees on average, and sometimes it was dropping down to 5 degrees, and the spin rates were averaging up at 5,000 and sometimes were at 5,500. So what Dan was using at the moment was a 15 degree 3 wood. I've moved away from that and gone to a 4 wood in 17 degrees. And what we then found getting into a 4 wood 17 degrees with a new Srixon fairway wood, even over a 3 wood with 15 degrees, we were matching the ball speeds at both at 140 miles an hour. So even dropping that 2 degrees, we weren't losing any ball speed. But what the main thing is, we got that launch angle from averaging kind of 8.5 to 8.9 up to into double figures just over 10 degrees, I believe at 10.1. And at times when we put a good swing on it, it was at kind of 11 to 12 degrees. All of a sudden, the dispersion dropped down, and therefore we've got more consistency from increasing that launch angle.
If I'm perfectly honest, yeah, it surprised me. I wasn't really expecting to go up to a 4 wood, but that's what Martin fitted me for, and it's worked well, and I was hitting it even further than my current 3 wood.
What I also wanted to do is that Dan's also using a regular flex fairway wood, and his ball speeds are up 140 miles an hour. So like I said, the spin rate was averaging over 5,000. So what I wanted to do is just get Dan into, there's lots of variants of stiff, so I didn't want to put it too stiff, but I've put him into a high launching stiff at around 60 gram, and therefore that brought the spin rates down as well. So we reduced the spin rates and we increased the launch angle. We actually, in the end, because of that, got the carry up by 8 yards, and we were a lot straighter with a lot more consistent flight. So the driver was almost the same, but not quite as bad as the 3 wood. So we were averaging again launch angle down at kind of the 8.5, 9 degrees. The spin rates were at 3,500, so they weren't as far out as the 3 wood. So we started off with a 10.5 neutral, the same way Dan's is, and we put in a kind of mid-launching stiff, and that didn't work straight off the bat. Dan said to me, for one thing he has done with his driver, he's left it on neutral and he didn't like to muck around with it. On this instance, I have had to change our driver to the +1 setting to get it from 10.5 to 11.5. I've also gone into a higher launching shaft, but still in stiff, and I've took some of the weight out of it and gone from a 60 to a 50 gram, and that enabled us to get to launch angle again to double figures, so around 10.5 degrees, so a good degree and a half up on where we were with our own driver. And we brought the spin rates down from 3,500 down to 2,500, and we actually got the carry up on this one by 11 yards.
Just shows going out and getting fitted does have an effect on your golf. So going up in like a degree, 2 degrees, I'm hitting it 10 yards further. To me that doesn't make sense, but you come and get fitted, and with shafts and the head, seems to work well.